Good morning everybody. We're going to be doing a Smartdoll hat today. So here's my Mirai, and she is sporting this sort of lilac and white with a nice little purple flower with some yellow beads in their hat. Now the hat was actually inspired by a film I watched the other night. There was just nothing on the TV and I was sort of scanning through, went onto Netflix, still nothing. And I needed something light-hearted, something I didn't really have to think about. And all of a sudden Legally Blonde came up and I'm like, yeah, okay, been a long time since I've watched it, but it's a bit of fun. So I popped it on, and about a third into the film, I spotted Elle had a crochet hat on. And I wasn't looking at the film then anymore, I was looking at the crochet hat. And this is the inspiration I took. It is quite similar. Obviously, it's not exactly the same. When we're making doll size things change slightly as well. But we have roughly the same colour scheme. And obviously in the film, I think this would have been like a big fabric flower. But I thought it'd be quite nice to do a little crochet one, because it's one that you can actually put on other hats or bags or clothing for your doll as well. And that is so easy. So this is the little hat we're going to be doing today. And as I said, Mirai here is modelling it in her lovely clothes as well. Look at her, she looks great. She looks quite sporty today. Some little sort of Converse looking shoes as well. Her outfit is from Bella's Doll Clothes, so I know a lot of you do buy from her and her clothes are amazing. So I would recommend, if you've not looked at her products, to pop over there, because it's not just Smartdoll. Almost every doll you can think of she makes something for, which is amazing. So Mirai here is going to help me do this. So we're going to go top down and we're going to get this hat started. So I will see you in a moment. Well, here we are with the actual video. So we're going to have a little look at the hat still on Mirai. As you can see, it is such a simple design. I've got no worries that a beginner couldn't do this. You may have to take a little bit more time, but yeah, I think you would be fine doing it. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I'm going to take the hat off Mirai now so we can have a proper look. So let's just move it over there. And here we are, we've got the little hat. So it'll fit any other doll that's got an approximate same head size. I think it's between 8 and 9 inches. But again, we've got a little bit of stretch there. It is yarn and it does, as you can see, sort of stretch about quite a bit. So I'm going to pop that there. We're using a double knit yarn. So again, if you've got any leftover yarns or you've made something, there's a few bits, you could easily get a hat out of that. Now the hook size, we are on a 3mm hook there. We have a few little bits and bobs. Those are the beads that I use. They're little seed beads, obviously cotton to go with it. My needles and my scissors. The beads are optional, of course. And obviously you can choose whatever colour you want for your hat. It's just an idea. And as I say, it was sort of, I don't know, a little bit of inspiration from the Legally Blonde film. That was all. So I thought it worked quite nicely. So I'll pop that there. I'm going to grab our yarn, which I've already pulled a little bit of it out. I'm hoping the camera's going to behave, because I've tried doing this twice and I don't know what I'd done, but for some reason it just turned off. Let's have a go. So please behave, camera. So slip knot and onto the hook. Not too tight, you do need that bit of movement there. And we're going to start with our 2 chain. And into our first chain, you're going to do 6 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and please remember they are UK terms. So we have our 6 there. We are actually going to do a slip stitch into the top of the first one. So a slip stitch, we just pull it through and pull it through, and that's it. So I'm just going to tighten up that first bit to keep that hole there quite tiny, and we're now going to start with our treble. So if we look at the top of this one, you can see that first bit I did was double crochets, and then we instantly went into trebles, and you're going to be doing 2 trebles in each stitch. But our first one, of course, does have to be 3 chain. 1, 2 and 3, which is the equivalent to our first treble. And yarn round into the base of that chain, pull it through, and then 2 and 2. That's our treble. So now we have 5 more stitches left, and each of those are going to have 2 treble stitches. So treble 1, treble 2. That's our second one. So you can see we have 4 stitches now. Again, next one. We have 1. We have 2. Keep going. Obviously we should have had 6 to start with, so that means we should have 12 at the end of this with the 2 in each one. Trebles are quite nice to count actually, because they're a longer stitch, so they're quite easy to see. So even if you lose count, you can sort of have a quick count, which is what we're going to do now. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have my 12. Now we can't really work in spiral with trebles, unfortunately. You get away with it with half trebles. So I'm going to have to slip stitch into the top of that first treble. So we've joined ourselves into a little sort of circle now. We're going to start with 3 chain again, because each round will do that. And we're going to do 3 chain, but then we're going to add another chain. Now that one is our chain space. So yarn round and into the base again. So it's almost like a V-stitch, to be honest. So what you've got there is 3 chain plus 1 chain and then 1 treble, all in the same stitch area. Now we're going to do another chain and into the next treble, a treble. Then we're going to do a chain, but we're not going to do 2 in this one. We're only going to do 1 in it. We're going to jump to the next one, and that's the one that's going to have 2. So it would have a treble, a chain, and a treble. So it's like a V-stitch. So can you see how we're alternating? We've got the first one's like a V-stitch, then it is just a single treble there, and then we have the 2 trebles again in the next one. But there's always that chain in between. So chain into the next one, it's just going to be an individual treble. Yeah? Then a chain. Then into the next one, it's going to be, we'll call it a V-stitch. I think that makes it easier. So it's a treble, chain, treble. Then we do a chain, because we've got to remember there's a chain in, because that chain is what's giving us our increasing. So we do need to make sure we put it in between every single bit. So our next stitch is just 1 treble on its own, but then we need a chain after. And then the next one's going to be our 2 trebles. So it's treble, chain, treble. It's a weird one to explain, this one. It is simple, but sometimes doing it simple, but it's not so easy to explain to somebody. We need that chain into the next one. It's an individual treble with a chain. Then the next one is our V-stitch trebles. So it's treble, chain, treble in the same stitch. Chain, individual treble, chain. I get sick of saying chain with this one. Yarn round into the next one with our V-stitch treble. So it's a treble, chain, treble, same stitch. And then a chain. And then the next one is just an individual treble. But we do need to do a chain before we do that slip stitch into the top of that 3. So you can see how it gives you like a little gap in between. So we're sort of getting this sort of gap in here. It's actually this round here. So that's about as much as increasing as you have to do. But we still mustn't forget that chain, because that chain is going to keep coming in, keep coming in. So we're going to start 3 chain, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So that counts as our first treble. Then we do another chain and then a treble in the top of the next one. Chain, treble in the next one, chain, treble in the next one. So I think you'll see what's happening now. It is just treble, chain, treble, chain, treble, chain all the way round. So into the top of each of those other trebles, you're going to do 1 treble with a chain in between. Hope I'm explaining that clearly enough. Into the next one, and chain, treble next one, chain, treble next one. Sometimes hard to see, so sometimes you have to stop and think, hang on, is that coming out of that one? Yes, it is. So that means we need to move on. So always check, otherwise you'll end up increasing again. And chain into the next one, chain, and we've actually gone past the hardest bit. That's it now. The rest is just an absolute doddle, because it's just going to be this essentially. Make sure that chain's in between, otherwise you'll suddenly reduce the size. Almost round. Then we can have a little look at what we've got. And chain, and our last one. Don't forget the chain at the end, chain and slip stitch join. So that means we have another round now, so you can sort of see, if I stretch it out, you can see what is happening there. Now that round is now going to be just repeated, and it's going to be repeated another 3 times. Or if you want the hat slightly shorter or slightly longer, that's something you need to keep trying on your doll to decide. Because some dolls, it's sort of the depth from the top of the head to like the eyebrow area can be quite different. So you might need to check. I'm going to do another 3 rounds of what we've just done. But if you need to do a little bit extra, just like I say, have a check on your doll. So right side's facing, may make sure, because it twists sometimes, you just do need to make sure it's the right side facing. 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3. That's the one that counts as the treble, and then 1 chain, yeah. And then a treble into the top of the treble and 1 chain. So I think we can see what's happening now, can't we? It's just 1 treble and 1 chain. And you're working into the top of each of the treble from the previous row. So this is our first of 3. And then by the time you get to the end of them, to be honest, you've almost got the hat done. Told you it'd be a quick one, this one. And so as long as you're comfortable with the treble, it's not a bad sort of combination to do at all. Don't forget that chain. I do forget the chain sometimes. That is why I'm saying to you, don't forget the chain. In fact, I'm going to stop because I've gone wrong. You know, when I said about making sure you were in line, I got distracted here and I sort of went, oh, that's there. And it isn't. It was actually in the top of the treble because it sits, if you look, that's your treble, but then the stitch hole sort of sits slightly to one side. So I've ended up almost increasing there, so I need to take that one out. But I did notice now rather than later, which is good. And it's easy enough to take a stitch out, isn't it? So yarn round. Look, I sort of pulled it and I thought, oh, it's there, it's there. It's not, it's over here. So keep an eye on that. Because it pulls over to one side as you're crocheting. Not because it looks like your next one will be there because that hole's made itself bigger, but it's not, it's here. So please keep an eye on that. Otherwise you'll be increasing and you'll end up with a very large hat, which if you have a larger doll, fair enough, that would probably work. Almost round, and this was round number 1 as I mentioned. The last stitch for round number 1, 1 chain and slip stitch into the top. There we go. So you can see how it's coming. First of all, you think, well, this is never going to fit my Smartdoll, but you'll be surprised. It sort of stretches out as you go. So 3 chain, because we have to start with 3 chain, and that counts as our first treble, then 1 chain. And then off we go again. This is round 2. And again, be careful where you're positioning it. Hopefully I'll not do it wrong this time. Because usually, I think going wrong sometimes is a great way of learning. Because quite often you won't go wrong again when you've done something wrong. So yeah, it's trial and error, isn't it, sometimes? Now, I don't know whether you've noticed, but as I'm doing it, I sort of do a stitch, I pull it through, I do the chain, and I'm sort of like stretching as I go. It's sort of just a habit now when I do it, I sort of just stretch, because I do find that yarn will become very tight, and then that's misleading on whether it's going to fit, and sometimes you need that sort of little stretch to make sure the sizing is going to be okay. That's the one that caught me again. Can you see I went there and it makes it feel like I've got to go there, and it's not, it's over there. Behave, concentrate. Oh, nearly lost my wool. nearly round for number 2. 1 chain and slip stitch join. So I'm on my 3rd round now, so you can see how we're getting our shape coming. So off we go for round number 3. 3 chain to start with, counts as our first one, then 1 chain, and off we go. Because they're quite long stitches, trebles, it means it works really quick, that's all. So I knit this sort of hat length for it anyway. You can make a full size one using this particular pattern. You can make yourself a matching one with the doll. I can't actually see the clock, but I'm pretty sure this hasn't taken long. Obviously, if you are a beginner, you may want to slow the video down, which you can do in settings. You can sort of alter the speed of a video that you're watching. Or I usually find the best way if I was learning something new is I watch the video first, then I stop and start it as I go until I'm sort of happy with what I am doing. Nearly forgot my chain then. It's so easy just to get into the rhythm of just doing trebles. And already I am round. Keep it nice and loose, don't make your stitches too tight. So I'm going to do my slip stitch join there, and you can see we've got our hat shape here. So let me just have a little look. I'm saying I've got 3 down there. I've got a feeling it might be 4, you know. I'm terrible. I write a pattern up and I'll go, oh, that's the 3, I've done that. And I think, oh, I only need 1 more. And I do the 1 more, but I don't write it down. And it's really bad of me, especially when I've got to sort of make the pattern out for you guys as well. So let me double check. I think I do. Look at that, eh? I do. It was 4 rounds. 4 rounds, okay? So when I do, I will write this up as a pattern, and when I write it up, in fact, I have a pen here now, and I'm going to mark that off now, because otherwise I will forget. So it was actually 4 rounds, okay? So I need another round. They're easy enough, aren't they? So 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3, plus the 1 into the next one. Off we go. We're going to be changing colour after this round. We're also going to be changing stitch. We're going to be moving on to our double crochets. I know somebody put something in the comment of gone, well, why did they have to be different? I wish I knew. It's the US. I'm not sure about other countries. If if you do work, you crochet from other places, please let me know if you use sort of more the US type terms or the UK terms. I really don't know why there's a difference. I don't know why they have to complicate it, because it's the same stitch. I mean, I know I've had thought of lots of things. I mean, we call it a treble, so if you think about it, you wrap your yarn, you come through, but then you only come through twice, so would that not be a double? I don't know. It's a tricky one. Got a couple more to do. Where are we? I think we should be nearly round. I can't see where we started. Yes. Yeah, watch that, because you can see how it sort of leans across and you're like, oh, but that needs to come over. So you do need to watch that one as well. So treble, chain, and slip stitch. I suppose we start with 3 stitches if we were doing a treble row or a treble round. Perhaps that would be it, but then that wouldn't make sense for the other one. I've got to stop thinking about it. Right, so I'm just going to do a slip stitch there, and we will double check now that I have got my own pattern right. That is terrible, isn't it? I get my own pattern wrong. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that's the length we need, but now we're moving on to these. So I need my scissors. We can just cut that off. My scissors are getting so blunt, it's terrible. It's because I use them for yarn. You shouldn't really, these are my embroidery scissors and I use them for yarn, which is really bad. Right, we're now going to move. If you wanted to, you don't actually have to sort of cut the yarn off. You can run it through, but I've just cut it off because I think it's easier to explain in sort of two halves. So I've got my white. I'll pick my hat back up. I nearly lost that slip stitch. There we go. So pull the slip stitch through. You may have a preferred way of joining your yarn. Please do, obviously, whichever way works for you. This is just a method I've been using recently. So I have my stitch there. I'm going to pull that one through and I'm going to tighten that up. I'm going to do a chain, and into the base of it I'm going to do, which is the top of the 3 chain from the previous round. Oh, I'm aiming to do a double crochet and it doesn't want to do it. Keep still because it keeps going loose. Right, I will get in there. There is a double crochet now. There we go, we've got it. It anchors it down by doing that. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to do a double crochet in the space, because that was the 1 chain space, and a double crochet in the top of the treble. So we can have 1 in the treble, in the space, in the treble. Makes it a bit easier actually to go in the treble rather than the stitch, and I think it makes it a little bit more solid personally. So space, treble, space and treble, and we're just going to keep doing that all the way around. I think by bringing it down to a double crochet, I'm pretty sure on the film it looks like they were all trebles, but we are working with a doll, so your distancing is slightly different, and I just think it makes it a bit firmer. If I was doing this for an adult person, a real person, not a doll, I would probably do this as a double crochet row as well, just so it makes it firmer. Otherwise it becomes quite a soggy hat. Now there are 2 rounds, you can see, because we need more than 1 there to make sure it shows up. So there are 2 rounds of white, and then I finished off with the 2 rounds of the lilac-y colour again. This first round really easy because it's going in the spaces. Couple more stitches to go for round 1. Into the chain space and into that first. Can you remember when we made this into a double crochet? Now we're going to do this spiral, so we don't need to worry about sort of stopping and starting. Just go straight into it and carry on round. We can use that as your marker. You don't need a stitch marker. So this is our second round of just 1 double crochet, but into each double crochet now in the white. See, I'm doing that little stretch again because the double crochet stitch is tighter than the treble, so it is a good idea to just give it a little stretch every now and then. Not too much, obviously you don't want your hat to go baggy, but just enough to sort of stop the stitches getting too tight. I do it automatically without thinking now with a lot of things I do, a lot of things I crochet, so I just thought I'd mention it in case you're wondering what I'm doing. So we're just over halfway, I would say. Obviously your double crochets do take a little bit longer. But we're almost round. Two more, 1 more. Now because I'm going to change colour, I am going to, not with this one, with the next stitch, do a slip stitch. Okay, just because I'm changing colour. But again, you choose your option for changing colour, because there's so many different ways. I change mine all the time how I like to join, but this is one I do seem to like at the moment, and I think it keeps, if we look, I know I've popped the flower there, so if you do have problems with your join, put the flower on it. But you'll see on this in a minute, it does give quite a neat join, so that is why I like it. So we're going to do a chain and we do a double crochet into the base, and what it does, it just anchors it. Now if you want, you can run that along and crochet it in. It gets rid of it at the same time, so it's one less thing to sew up at the end. So that is why I am running it along. I should have really done that with the white as well, but just takes a second to sew them in, so it's up to you which way you prefer to do it. Nobody likes sewing in ends. Well, I'm saying that, it's weird. I don't like sewing in ends. Or, well, not that I don't like doing them. I avoid doing them. But when I actually do them, I find them quite satisfying. Because as the ends sort of disappear, as you sew them in, everything seems to come together. You can see your work finished. And that's a nice feeling. So, yeah, I do actually sort of enjoy sewing ends in. But for some strange reason, I avoid them. I don't know, whichever way. Right, well, that's nearly at the end. So actually what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to trim that bit off if my scissors behave. Yeah. But if you want to just sew your ends in, it's entirely up to you. You don't have to do what I just did. So this is our first round of double crochets in the lilac-y colour. And then we're going to have one more round. And then we have actually finished the hat. We have the little flower to do. But if, like I say, if you're happy doing chain, the flowers are very easy. And they're great, not just for this hat. You could pop them on other hats. They're great on a sun hat, or you could do more than one. And, well, I'll show you in a second when we do the hat how you could sort of just make smaller versions of it. It could not be easier. Right, so last round of one double crochet. So it's not really a colour I do a lot of, but I think it worked out quite. Obviously, I wanted to make it sort of similar. I'm not sure whether I can do it. What I'm hoping to be able to do is pop a little picture, you know, sort of somewhere. my camera work's getting better, but so much I could do with learning, really. I'm hoping to sort of try and sort of sneak a picture in somewhere of Elle Woods in her hat, and you can sort of see, as I say, it's inspired by, should we say. It's not exactly the same. She does actually wear something in the second movie, which is also crochet, which I am actually tempted to have a go at for the Smartdoll, but that would have to be, again, I think it would have to be a 4-ply. I don't think I'd get away with doing it in a double knit, that one. Almost there. That's 2 stitches and the slip stitch join and fasten off. That's it. Ta-da! This is our hat. Again, don't worry if it feels a little bit tight, because they do. I think sometimes, I mean, I've taken this on and off of Mariah quite a few times. In fact, I'll grab her just to show you, because the nature of yarn is it does stretch. So if it feels a little tight, so let me just squeeze it on, which it does for us to start with. Yeah, but then it goes on okay, because this bit is really, really quite stretchy. So don't worry if it feels a bit tight, because it will give. You don't want it to be sort of fitting sort of loose and then you put it on a couple of times and it goes baggy. You don't want that. Oh, I did mention about the joins. This is how I've joined. I think it actually makes it quite neat. If you have problems with joining, because I know I did for ages and mine always look really quite messy, the great thing is you make a flower and you put it over where your join is and nobody will know. So let's have a look. We need some purple here. Now, I do like purple, I must admit. I say I don't really use lilacs, but I do like purple. Now, this is the easiest flower you could possibly do. It's going to start sort of similar to the others, but we're going to start with a bit of chain as well. We're going to start with 5 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we're going to slip stitch into that first one here and join it. So it sort of makes a little loop. So make sure you know where your little loop is. So I'm going to tighten up the other bit. I'm going to do 1 chain, and then into this hole here we're going to do 12 double crochets. Off we go. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, feels quite tight this, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So it does feel quite tight to fit into that ring, but it does do it. I'm now going to do a slip stitch into the first one. So that is sort of like the base part of our flower. From then on, it is just going to be chains. We're going to do 12 chains. So here we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, keep them tight, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. Down we go, double crochet, 12 chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Take your time with your chain. I've done a huge amount of chain, so my chain might be faster than yours. It's better, it's neater, because look, you need this neat line. You don't want them to be inconsistent. So take your time. Just double crochet into the next stitch. Let me tighten that up a bit. There we go. Double crochet, 12 chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep moving your fingers up. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Double crochet into the next one. So can you see what's happening here? These are the petals that we're getting. Now I mentioned you could make a smaller petal easily like this. This is 12 chain. So just as an experiment here, I'm going to do 6 chains, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So it's a lot shorter. I jump into the next one and you can see you get a littler petal. It's as simple as that. So you can make larger or smaller ones. So I'm going to come back out of that because I wanted to continue with the 12, didn't I? So we have 6. Let me pull a bit more yarn out. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And double crochet into the next one. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And double crochet into the next stitch. I'm going to stop there because I'm sure you don't want to watch me do all of them. Obviously, we had 12 stitches here. So let's have a double check on this one. So I'm going to hold that down as my first one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you end up with 12 sort of quite frilly petals. I think it's quite nice when you sort of like bunch them up if you want, or you can just spread them out. You could layer them. You could do another layer. For example, if we pop that one on top of that one, you can get a really sort of, or perhaps if this had been the 6 chain, it would have given you a second layer of a thinner, sort of a smaller flower section, because some flowers are layered, aren't they, like that. So I'm not going to continue with that, but all you will do is double crochet, 12 chain, double crochet, 12 chain all the way around till we get this flower shape here. Now, as I mentioned, I just popped some of these little seed beads on. So I just sewed them on with this cotton. Make sure you've got a fine enough needle, because seed beads are really inconsistent with the hole size. So you might need quite a fine needle, because some of them are really tiny weeny holes and some of them are quite large. So that is a bit of a pain. I also sewed, oh, one of them's just dropped out of the bag. I also sewed the beads on first. So the beads were sewn on because then you can't see sort of the bead detail. And then I use this middle part here. So I'm going to pull that tighter now so that hole closes up. I use this middle part here to stitch the flower onto the hat. Now again, up to you how tightly you stitch it on. I like to go all the way around, as you can see here. So I like it to be nice and firm, but you can't see it on the inside, which is nice because all I did was pick up the top part of the stitch here, a part of the flower, carried on round all the way around for that one. So that one was quite easy to do, to be honest. So that is our Elle Woods inspired crochet hat. Now let's bring Mariah back and pop it back. Let's cover that hat hair. It's the only thing when you're popping hats on them all the time, the hair can get a little bit static. So let's pull that back on your missus. I'm really pleased with that. I've taken some photos as well, which obviously will go on my Instagram, etc. And obviously there'll be one on the thumbnail, so you'll be able to see her. So I'm really pleased with that. I hope you get to make some of these. I'd love to see them in different colours as well. If you do make them, please tag me on my Instagram. Most people go for Instagram, but yeah, please tag me. Let me see what you've done. I do love seeing people's work. It's really nice for me to know that people do enjoy the videos and have reproduced them as well, which is really cool. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please like, subscribe and share, and I hope to see you all very soon. I need to get some amigurumi done, and I think I need a couple more Easter bits and bobs to sort out yet as well. So I'll see you all very soon, and thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.